Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. The WWE wants to close out the entire decade with the final pay-per-view being WWE TLC for this year, and it ended up being a perfect metaphor for the entire year that the WWE has forced us to sit through. It had a couple of good matches, it had a couple of decent storylines that might get your interest, but for the most part, it was dreadful. It was a dismal year. It was a dismal pay-per-view, and we're going to talk about all of it from the beginnings when it was actually good. Even the pre-show was good on this night in comparison to the second half of the main show, all the way to the main event where they actually disrespected the women while putting them in the main event to respect the women's division and the rise of the Evolution this year. And we're going to talk about all of that and so much more right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare, and you are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's WWE TLC review and reaction show. Let's do it.
The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
This was the most unnecessary show of the year. And we've said that about a couple of pay-per-views throughout the entirety of the year because most of the pay-per-view stuff WWE throws at us is nonsensical, it's garbage, and it doesn't make sense. And this is one of the prime examples of that. While it did feature a couple of good matches and the return of Daniel Bryan, this show was a complete failure. From start to finish. Well, actually, I shouldn't say from start to finish. This show started off pretty damn hot. The pre-show kicked off with a great matchup between Humberto Carrillo and Andrade. Even though we've seen it a couple of times before, this matchup between these two guys was really, really good and was worth watching. And the show kicked off with a great ladder match for the Smackdown Tag Team Championship. It was much better than I anticipated it being. And it followed that with Alistair Black versus Buddy Murphy, a match that I have said on many occasions leading into this pay-per-view this week that was probably going to be the match to steal the show. And it certainly didn't disappoint, and it definitely did, in my opinion. There was nothing on this night that came even close to the excitement and anticipation and just the way I was invested into the Alistair Black Buddy Murphy match just based off of the action that was happening alone. I don't know what happened in Minnesota, though. Minnesota is supposed to be a super hot wrestling town. They're a hotbed of pro wrestling. Hell, in the 80s, 90% of the pro wrestlers, I think, were born in Minnesota, or at the very least came through Minnesota in the AWA at some point in the early 80s. If I said 90s, I apologize. I meant to say 80s. But what the hell happened tonight? Was there something in the water? Did you guys serve real shitty, watered-down beer and maybe the crowd didn't get drunk enough to really care or have a good time tonight? What happened? Was everybody bored out of their minds while these people are out there putting their lives on the line in some of the most unnecessary gimmick matches that we have seen in a long time? TLC tonight was full of problems, and let's start talking about them, the first of which being the main event. Why you had to put the women in the main event just for the sake of putting the women's tag team matchup in the main event to say first time ever, the first women's first time ever. Sometimes it's not worth it. Maybe you save that first time ever for a matchup that's actually going to warrant some excitement, some sort of importance placed on it. I know this was a tag team championship matchup, but leading into it, you didn't do anything interesting. Your tag team division for the women is a failure, and this matchup is a prime example of that because the opponents for the champions in this case, being the women's champion, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair, the champion who's not a champion, who they want to stroke her ego so hard, I swear to God, I thought the girl was going to pop her own little orgasm on screen. If they talked any more highly about Charlotte Flair, trying to make her seem like the queen they all want her to believe she is. Listen, they failed this tag team division so miserably they had no choice but to put Charlotte and Becky in this scenario. Why wasn't Becky Lynch, after the monumental year that she had, historical year for a women's professional wrestler, winning the championship in the main event of WrestleMania, and everything else that she has done on her way to becoming the man. You might not like it anymore, it might not be cool anymore, you might have gotten over it, but you can't deny the year that the woman has had. Why she couldn't have ended the year on pay-per-view defending the championship in a one-on-one match versus anybody but Charlotte. But instead, because of your laziness in creativity, because of your lack of creativity, you just want to throw the biggest stars you have at the Kabuki Warriors and challenge them for their championship tonight and put it in the main event. That worked out really well last time we did it. Wasn't it last month they put the women in the main event at Survivor Series? And that really went over well, didn't it? I don't understand the decision for putting them in the main event here. It wasn't necessary. You wanted to end the decade with the women ending a pay-per-view? If there's no real true importance to the matchup, then why bother? Many people like myself expected that because it was the main event, we were going to see a title change, and while at least that didn't happen, this was a disservice to Asuka. This was a disservice to all of the women in there. While I love and respect each and every one of them in their own way, maybe Charlotte a little bit less than others at this point, just because they've been so oversaturated with her. She's the Roman Reigns of the women's division, and I think she would do good to take a couple of months off and let some other people get a turn around there. I love all of these girls. I've been a proponent of Becky Lynch. I have always supported Kairi Sane and Asuka as a tag team and in their singles efforts. I love women's wrestling. But this match was way too long. This match was sloppy as hell, and it made these girls who are tremendously talented look like less than what they are capable of doing. I would have much rather have seen both of these women featured in singles matchups where they could truly shine and show the world what they can do instead of trying to do what the fucking guys do. Because you know what? The guys on tonight, they were just as sloppy as the girls. It's not that they didn't do it better than the guys. It's nothing like that. This was an unnecessary matchup that was booked unnecessarily long. They had too many crazy spots. There was a lot of missed and botched spots. And it reminded me a lot of when I was watching the first ever Women's Hell in a Cell. You got Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch trying to put Kairi Sane through a table. And much like Sasha Banks, she doesn't have enough weight to go through a table. So Charlotte Flair puts her through it like a beast. And then for the last 10 minutes of the matchup, Kairi Sane looked like she didn't even know where she was. She didn't want to take a bump. She didn't want to get hit by a chair. She's running away from Charlotte Flair. This is how you want these people to look? This was not good. I'm not taking away from their efforts. They tried really, really hard. And they are going to be really, really hurting tomorrow. And I respect what they tried to do out there. But maybe you rein back just a little bit. There was no reason for it to go that long. That match fell apart halfway through it. And how stupid can you make the Kabuki Warriors look? They got Becky Lynch fucking tied up on a steel ladder with a cargo rope. You got Charlotte Flair in the crowd, and they're tiptoeing through the tulips up to the tag team championships. Taking their time. There are countless opportunities for both teams to have won this matchup. It's almost as if none of the girls wanted to win the titles tonight. Nobody wanted to go up the ladder. Too many opportunities that made all of these women look foolish. That whole rope tied down thing, I'm just losing my mind. I'm losing my mind because here you have a situation where you got one of your opponents tied up where she ain't going to be able to get up. So why aren't you going to have your teammate isolate Charlotte Flair, keep her away from the ring while you go up and grab the championships? That seems like the play. But how many times did the Kabuki Warriors have that very opportunity to do just that and then would stand there like high-fiving each other, talking, screaming at the crowd, doing crazy little moves? What are they, idiots? Do they not know why they're out there? Did they not want to finish the match? Did they want to just keep fighting? Is that the story you were trying to tell? I don't understand why they did this to them. They made them look really stupid. This is professional wrestling. We know that this stuff is written, and whoever it is that wrote this or tried to help them put this match together, you did them no favors by trying to do way too much. They don't have to go as crazy, especially if this is their first outing. They have to do things that they can execute. Things that are impactful and meaningful. Not doing spots where you're putting Charlotte in a computer chair and then you're trying to brace her in there with a kendo stick, which is a very easy thing to do, but these two girls for some reason couldn't get it situated. And then you have one of the most ridiculous looking spots ever as Charlotte Flair sits in this chair and continually gets kicked in the chest while being held by a kendo stick that she could have very easily escaped from. There are a lot of little moments like that in this matchup. A lot of missed spots in that matchup, and it did no good for anybody. And to make things even worse, you did the right thing by having the Kabuki Warriors remain the tag team champions. And this win over these two women is something that will maybe elevate them in the eyes of the fans, possibly, but there's still nobody else for them to go and fight. That's another story for another day. But they ruined everything. Because, Asuka was celebrating with the championships for maybe about 30 seconds before they had to cut into this ridiculous brawl, which served no purpose but to try to redeem Roman Reigns and make him still look like the big dog, even though he got his ass beat tonight in the most ridiculous way, in one of the longest and most drawn-out wastes of my time I have seen all year. The other TLC match on this night, I barely even watched. I got about 5 minutes in, and then I decided, you know what, maybe my time would be better served going to see my daughter before it's bedtime, because tomorrow is school, and she's going to be going to bed soon, and I would much rather be sitting outside playing tiddlywinks, or hide and seek, or looking for the elf on the shelf, or whatever the fuck it is that we're going to do, than sitting here watching this drivel between Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin. I don't care if you want to dress up men, grown-ass men in dog suits. I don't care if you want to make people eat dog food, put it in their face, put it in their ass. I don't care what you're going to do with the dog food. I don't care that his name is the Big Dog. I don't care that Baron Corbin's the king. None of it matters. This whole fucking feud has started over, supposedly, the fact that both of these guys want to be the locker room leader, right? So Baron Corbin and Roman Reigns are boring us to death for over 20 minutes in this overly long, ridiculous matchup. And Roman Reigns has nobody to come out and help him when Baron Corbin's numbers definitely became too much. This matchup starts out, Roman Reigns is taking out everybody. He's beating up security. For some reason, Baron Corbin has security during this matchup. He's beating up fucking everybody. The Revival comes out. For what? That's still a thing? Both two of the Revival equaling up to one Bobby Roode? Is that what's happening? I don't remember them really being that involved with what's going on with the King thing for the last couple of weeks, but whatever, they've made their appearance here and there. But them showing up here tonight as a couple of losers after losing their ladder match versus the New Day, only to help King Corbin beat Roman Reigns in a match that should have been the final stop in this feud. The way you made us sit through all of this shit for the last 6 weeks. And now you're telling me it's not over because Baron Corbin won. So where are we going to go with this? That just means that Roman still needs to get his redemption. And even though he loses tonight in the most ridiculous way, he's got 12 security guards, 2 Revival members, Dolph Ziggler's out there. Everybody's ganging up on Roman, the locker room leader that everybody respects, and nobody came out to fucking help him. Nobody came out to help Roman Reigns. Why should I care about Roman Reigns? If half the WWE locker room doesn't give a shit, why should we give a shit? Definitely didn't make sense. It was stupid. which made the ensuing brawl that continued on throughout the show and would end up disrespecting the women's main event before all is said and done, just to get Roman back on top and to have that big spear shot at the end, putting Baron Corbin into a bunch of WWE jerk-offs that are all fighting for what? For what reason is this brawl happening? We didn't see it start. All we know is that everybody's fighting. Chad Gable's back there fighting. He didn't even have a match on the card. Why are you fighting? Absolute garbage. Complete ridiculousness. And I don't understand it. Most of this show was all of that nonsensicalness, but there is a little bit of saving grace as we're going to talk about this card from top to bottom right now. The kickoff show started with a very cool little confrontation with the Revival stepping to Booker T, challenging Harlem Heat to get in the ring with them. Since Booker T wanted to put over the AOP so highly, the Revival took exception to the fact that Booker T didn't think they were the best tag team in the world, and threw this little very intense moment out there. It made everybody uncomfortable. It seemed a little bit off the cuff. It seemed kind of unscripted, so it felt good. Like, I was into it. And now, like, the only thing I hope is that Booker T goes and gets Stevie Ray and is like, yo, bro, let's go to SmackDown and go beat these kids up for a little bit. And shove some respect down their throat, old school style. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that at all. Humberto Carrillo defeated Andrade with Zelina Vega. This match went almost 15 minutes, and this was a banger, man. The only complaints I have about this matchup is that they decided to go to picture-in-picture commercial break. I'm on pay-per-view, right? We're watching the pre-show. There's no need for you to hype the main show if I'm watching the fucking pre-show. Don't you think if I'm watching the pre-show and I'm torturing myself by watching this stupid hour of content that I'm going to be tuning into the main show? You don't have to sell it to me. So now I got this great match going on, and I have to see Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin. And I have to see Lana and fucking Rusev. Come on, man. That was unnecessary. We come back from one of these breaks, Andrade is busted open. My man was bleeding from the eye. I couldn't even tell what happened because they didn't show us, and I couldn't tell where the blood was actually coming from. But it definitely added to the drama of the match, and you did not expect Humberto Carrillo to win again. And while I do want to give WWE credit for the 50-50 booking not rearing its ugly head in this scenario, I have to question the decision to continue down this road with Zelina Vega breaking away from Andrade. Andrade still seemingly blaming Zelina for this loss, even though she really did not do anything to play into the decision this time around. And I want to throw this at you. I will only go along with this if Zelina Vega turns on Andrade, right? Or Andrade apparently has already turned on Zelina Vega. So now Zelina's got to go, and she's got to get her man, her real man, and get Alistair Black out of the fucking closet, telling him to stop picking fights with people and take him and guide his career, your husband, your real life husband, and have him have your back and go beat the shit out of Andrade. I would love to see Alistair Black versus Andrade be a main program with Zelina Vega being the reason for it all going down. Because Andrade decided to throw her to the side, she's going to go get her husband to defend her honor or whatever it is that they want to do. Maybe Andrade gets a little physical with Zelina next time they see her. He grabs her, hey, no, whatever. And then enter in Alistair Black. That would be a great way to go about it. Can you imagine where we could go with something like that? But the WWE doesn't think with an actual functioning brain like I do. They don't come up with great ideas to give to you guys like I do. So I do not expect that to be the case. But this match was great. Humberto gets another pretty important win. And then we go on to the main show. Now, for all of you who may have criticized me for my comments about how they've been using Bray Wyatt and how the Firefly Funhouse doesn't seem special anymore, and I said it seems kind of corporatized and it seems a little bit Hollywood. You look no further than the first opening seconds of this pay-per-view to prove me right, as we started this pay-per-view with a Firefly Funhouse segment. Bray Wyatt's there, he's decorating a Christmas tree, and I'm figuring, we're going to get something interesting. This is a different way to start the pay-per-view. So I'm tuned in, I'm going to start to listen, I want to hear what the man has to say, and then he suddenly starts to, well, not he, but it suddenly starts to become not a Firefly Funhouse segment, but the opening promo segment. The whole show beginning was a fake Firefly Funhouse segment turned into a hype package. And you're going to tell me they're not corporatizing the Firefly Funhouse? If there's anything on WWE right now that should not be used in that manner as an official thing of the WWE, it should be a funhouse that exists only inside the psychosis of Bray Wyatt. But now it's being used to hype a pay-per-view that definitely needed a lot of hype, even though it did not deliver on it for the most part. So suck on that if you think I was wrong about that. Shouldn't be doing shit like that with the Firefly Funhouse. We started this pay-per-view tremendously hot with a 20-minute long ladder match featuring The New Day, Kofi Kingston, and Big E taking on The Revival. In this scenario, we were supposed to see Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode versus The New Day here, but because Robert Roode can't keep his nose clean, well, we don't know if it went up his nose or whether he was toking it or whether he put it in his veins. Whatever it is, the man's got a wellness violation, so that caused them to sub in The Revival. So now we have this matchup, and it was great. Look at that. Holy cow, I'm sitting here telling you something positive. This match was great, man. This was everything you would want in a ladder match. This was sloppy as well. If I'm going to bring the hammer down on the girls, I have to be just as even with the guys. This match was a little bit sloppy. There were a few poorly positioned spots. There were a few collisions with the ladder that was off by just enough where it almost kind of looked like it didn't even hit the guy at all, but you knew it definitely did. There was a lot going on in this matchup. The Revival looked fantastic. Big E looked like a beast. He took a shot where he fell off the ladder and landed right on his knee, where I thought Big E Langston was messed up for the rest of this matchup, but to his credit, he would finish on. It was fantastic. I don't know if he was really hurt or not, but he definitely looked like something happened. But he went on to do some more crazy shit in that matchup. Going into this thing, you already knew that the Revival was not going to beat the New Day. There was no reason why that would happen. And the New Day in this scenario has Kofi Kingston as the wild card. I knew going into this thing that he was going to be the all-star of this matchup, considering the agility that he portrays during Royal Rumble matchups and his unpredictable offensive nature. Kofi Kingston flying out of nowhere like you would expect for him to do. He was perfect. This match was everything it needed to be. It should definitely elevate the standing of the Revival, even in a loss. But now they put them next to Baron Corbin before the end of the night was through. So much for all that momentum they might have built. But this was a great match. If you go back and watch any two matchups, I will tell you it is this ladder match, and it is the match that would follow, which is Alistair Black defeating Buddy Murphy. This match was given a great amount of time, but this match was suffering from the lack of interest in the crowd. And the WWE has nobody to blame but themselves. They've given you no reason to really love Alistair Black on the main roster. They've given you no reason to really hate Buddy Murphy. So we don't really have a sense of who we want to cheer, who we want to boo. And you kind of got that in this matchup. It was a little bit 50-50 at points, but the people barely got involved. They barely cared for the first 10 minutes of this matchup until the end started to come. Alistair Black had a broken nose within minutes of this matchup, which would lead to some of the most uncomfortable moments of the night. Buddy Murphy had him stacked up in the top rope. He had him bent over with his neck tucked into the top turnbuckle and his 2 feet on the second ropes, and repeatedly kicked the man in his broken-nosed face 3 times. And each time I cringed worse than the last time. And when they decided to go to replay to show it again, I turned my head away because I couldn't watch the annihilation that was being brought upon the face and jaw of Alistair Black by Buddy Murphy. The offense was so equal. It was explosive. It was back and forth. It had you on the edge of your seat. You didn't know when this match was going to finish until Alistair Black snapped that Black Mass kick and ended up with the win in a very impressive matchup. Once again, for both men, it doesn't matter who won. We all won by watching this match. This was the best match of the night, and it wasn't even a gimmick match. And the fact that this matchup, as well as the Carrillo Andrade matchup, both drew blood, and the other matchups didn't, it's kind of interesting if you think about it. The hardcore style matchups, we didn't have any color, but in the regular matchups, these guys went so hard that they busted each other wide open. I'm still waiting for confirmation on what exactly happened to Alistair Black, but you can visibly see the man struggling to breathe and the blood just coming out his nose, which is two of the key signs to tell you that your nose is broken. He couldn't do this through the whole entire matchup. He was breathing out his mouth. Credit to him and to Buddy Murphy for this matchup, but credit to Alistair Black for pulling off this matchup with that nose being broken, with the inability to breathe, and that is one of the most important things you need when you are out there doing your wrestling. You need to be able to breathe, man. If you can't do that, it takes away half of all of your ability from top to bottom. So props to him for that. This was a great matchup. I really, really enjoyed it. If you missed it, go back and watch it. We had an interview with Rusev in the back, who is apparently elated that Lana's going to marry Bobby Lashley because then he won't have to pay alimony payments. And the most impressive thing about Rusev throughout the entirety of this run in this absolutely shit storyline is the man's got a t-shirt collection that can only probably be rivaled by my own. I got some pretty wild t-shirts. But Rusev wearing an Andre the Giant, anybody got a peanut shirt tonight. He was wearing a Donald Duck t-shirt last week. He's been wearing some wild t-shirts. And I got myself some wild t-shirts. So I'm into his wardrobe collection, at least right now. I'm digging all of his wacky little t-shirts. I wish it helped me care more about his actual matchup. But it didn't. I just thought it was something that I would like to point out. His t-shirt game right now is on point, and it's weird, which is cool, because I love weird style t-shirts, as many of you guys know just from watching the show. You can't see the shirts today. I got a skull and crossbones with, the little, candy canes and the Santa hat, but whatever. You don't need to see that shit. You don't need to see this any more than you needed to see the Raw Tag Team Championship matchup, which was so mind-boggling. How do you have an open challenge at a pay-per-view? A pay-per-view is the place where you are supposed to have finality to your feuds. You're supposed to make things come to an end. But instead, you're going to have open-ended challenges. Something that you did just 6 days ago on Monday Night Raw. And while I don't disagree with the fact that maybe they should have built up the OC as the primary contenders to the Viking Raider Warrior Raiders, and maybe if they would have spent some time coming up with a story between the two of them, delving in on the fact that the OC is the only team that has beaten the Viking Raider Warrior Raiders, even though they, in turn, have beaten the OC about 3 or 4 times already. At this point, they could have done something with that instead of just these random things that they've been doing with the Viking Raiders and the open challenge that squashed the Street Profits for absolutely no reason. And that's something you could have done. You could have not done it on Monday, and then you could have done it today and actually got the Street Profits on pay-per-view. But you're going to go with this OC thing instead. Now, the open challenge way was not the way to go about it. And the matchup that we got consequently from it was kind of boring. It barely went 10 minutes, and it wasn't really worth anything to anybody. It ended up in a double countout. Now, normally I would not be upset by something like that. As I told you guys, when you're dealing with a feud, a double countout, a double disqualification are ways that you can get around having wins and losses to these teams add up as you lead towards the pay-per-view matchup that they're going to have. They're not supposed to happen at the pay-per-view itself. Now, that's not the finish that's the problem. It's the fact that they didn't start this storyline until TLC tonight, which is what made Carl Anderson have to come out and give his whole long diatribe about all of this shit and how they're going to be the ones to finally start acting like the best tag team in the world. All of a sudden they give a shit about winning that stupid gauntlet. All they've been doing is losing since they won that tournament, that gauntlet match for that stupid cup anyway. All of a sudden they care. Oh, we're gonna be the best tag team in the world now. We got a trophy. Why is that supposed to be impressive when they got championship belts around their waist? They're gonna give a shit about your stupid little nickel and dime trophy? This was a waste of time, and it was only there to explain to everybody why the OC was getting this matchup, because the WWE did nothing to tell us that leading into it. Which is why the tag team division for the men is failing just as badly as the tag team division for the women. And to make things even worse, you wanted to have this tag team championship matchup brought to you by KFC. And you didn't want to just have a graphic on the screen or tell us this or run a stupid Colonel Sanders imitator commercial. You wanted to have 4 jerk-offs at a table eating Thanksgiving dinner brought to you by KFC. Big buckets of chicken, things of mashed potatoes and corn. This was a Monday Night Raw segment. This was not a pay-per-view segment. And then to go through all that, and you have the 4 Nimrods there chucking down on some chicken. One guy wouldn't even stop. There was action going on. And finally, at the end of this thing, they started to get the table involved, which, duh, that's the only reason why it's out there. But then you got the guy still standing there holding his bucket of chicken, and he's eating away at it, even though he's about to get his ass squashed by Luke Gallows. Why are these idiots out there? Why was this the way we needed to promote KFC? And if you're going to put somebody through a fucking table that's sponsored by KFC, shouldn't he at least be covered in potatoes and grits and gravy and corn and chicken skins? They cleared the table of all the props before they put Carl Anderson through it after the double count out. The Viking Raiders put Carl Anderson through a KFC table, and he got no food on him. And the crowd was not happy about it. In fact, they made the most noise about this more than anything else. And KFC got the biggest pop of the night. Maybe that's because the fans actually knew what to chant. KFC, KFC. Absolute waste of our time. So ridiculous. Tables, ladders, and chairs match. Baron Corbin defeats Roman Reigns. We touched upon this already. There's nothing important that happened here. This match started and I immediately checked out. I have no interest to even care about who wins or loses. But we go through this almost 25-minute long matchup. It was really not good. I don't know how you can have a boring TLC match. And how dare they? How dare they want to mention the match that started it all? They wanted to bring up Edge and Christian and the Hardys and the Dudleys in the year 2000 when the TLC was put on the map. And now Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin continue that tradition. If this is a continuation of this 20-year-long tradition, then bury it right now. Don't bring it back next year. Because in both matches tonight, you failed. One TLC match was boring as hell, and the other one was a sloppy mess. Not doing Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys any justice. If anything, it's a disrespectful thing. Carrying on the tradition. Michael Cole, big ass. They even were going to bring back the dog food spot. There was a can of dog food involved in this matchup. I barely paid attention. Like I said, I was doing much better things hanging out with my family at this moment. It was much more healthier for my sanity. The Universal Champion Bray Wyatt defeated The Miz. Duh! In a non-title matchup. So if this match was not for the title, why the hell did the referee show The Miz the championship belt before the match started? Hey, look, you can't have this. Even if you win, you don't get this. Ha ha, Miz. Now you're just gonna get your ass kicked, and look what you can't have. Fucking ridiculous. Bray Wyatt came out as Bray Wyatt. Here's where some of you guys are probably going to criticize me a little bit. Bray Wyatt came out as Bray Wyatt. He came out with the Firefly Funhouse music as his theme. And all that is fine. All that is fine. What is not fine is that Bray Wyatt wrestled this matchup much the same way he wrestled as The Fiend. So let me ask you this. If Bray Wyatt can feel no pain and he wants to laugh while he's getting his ass kicked, then what's the point of The Fiend? You would think that the invincibility thing and that ultra psychotic thing with the laughing at the pain and the whole Joker-like vibe would all coincide. Like when he puts the mask on, he becomes invincible. But instead, he's just Bray Wyatt without the mask, wrestling as The Fiend, which is far less interesting and not as over with the crowd. And I'm happy that we didn't have to watch a match bathed in red. But I don't understand that. You would think that Bray Wyatt as Bray Wyatt would want to show some sort of a vulnerability. To make the importance of the Fiend character mean something. Essentially, now it just, well, however he wants to decide to go dress today. That's not what made the Fiend cool. That's not what Bray Wyatt was saying. He's claiming the Fiend is a completely different entity. He's claiming he's nothing like the Fiend. Meanwhile, he goes out there and wrestles exactly like the guy. He feels no pain. So what's the point of the other guy? Intimidation? It was so much better than that. I thought Bray Wyatt was going to wrestle like Bray Wyatt. And we were going to see the whole, like a little bit more of his older self. You know, less insecure. And they did something interesting when the Fiend, after he already got the Bray Wyatt already got the Miz done and over with. This match was a little bit more than 5 minutes, and this was misusing everybody. But the Fiend shows up on the Titantron. Bray Wyatt sees him, and it starts to look like he's having a conversation with him in his mind. Now, I feel like they could have used this during the matchup. Maybe the Miz starts to get some offense on Bray Wyatt. Maybe he starts to make a comeback. Maybe he looks like he's going to win, and then suddenly the Fiend's face pops up, and then Bray Wyatt himself becomes gets woken up and like, holy shit, all right, I'm going to do it. I got this. And he's like afraid, and now he starts to fight even harder because he don't want the Fiend to be mad at him, and now he gets the advantage. And then you let that happen maybe one more time in the matchup. You let the Miz start mounting a comeback. Maybe you have some guy with a very similar body build as Bray Wyatt, since it's a masked character, come out from the bottom of the ring and just stare at Bray Wyatt. And Bray Wyatt gets friggin' freaked out. And then he goes and he destroys the Miz because he don't want to feel the wrath of the Fiend. This is the type of shit I was expecting. But instead, there is none of that. There's none of that. There's just Bray Wyatt, invincible Bray Wyatt, in his cardigan sweater, instead of his mask. Does that make sense to you? Let's be real. The WWE has ruined the most promising gimmick of the year. That's my opinion. You certainly don't have to agree with me, and you could voice your opinions in the comment section down below. But be fucking respectful. That's all I ask. You could chant Yowie Wowie all you want. None of this was interesting until Daniel Bryan decided to come out. Daniel Bryan got himself a shave and a haircut, probably cost him 2 bits, and it's very confusing to me. I don't know why he would change his whole brand just like that. He's been missing for weeks and now he just shows up. He must know the same tricks that Kevin Owens knows about how to get away from your captors. Last we seen, he had all his hair ripped out by the Fiend. But nobody knows what happened to him since then. Bray Wyatt has been claiming that The Fiend has Daniel Bryan. Apparently he didn't, and if he did, Daniel Bryan got away. But we'll never know any of that interesting stuff. Everybody's marking out, oh, it's the American Dragon. What does it matter what we call him? He's Daniel fucking Bryan. It's the same Daniel Bryan that he was with the beard and the hair. He just got a freaking haircut. And oh, it's American Dragon time. We're going to see American Dragon versus Johnny Wrestling. What's the fucking difference? Zero. Oh, he got a haircut. He looks like he did 10 years ago. Who gives a shit? It's still Daniel Bryan. It doesn't change anything about him. Except the way his face looks. Now he looks like Orange Cassidy without the sunglasses on. Is that an improvement, really? I don't know. You tell me. Oh, is that American Dragon back? Get out of here. So stupid people sometimes. Daniel Bryan attacked Bray Wyatt. Oh, wait. There is one more thing about this whole scenario I just need to talk about before we step away from it. Because I was going to move away from it because it's not worth talking much more about. But Michael Cole at one point shows the world once again how much of a dumbass he is. Because Bray Wyatt pulls out that signature sledgehammer. That very Harley Quinn-esque, gigantic clown sledgehammer. And Michael Cole reacted to this sledgehammer that he's seen in the Hell in a Cell match with Seth Rollins, that we have seen in segments on the Firefly Funhouse, as if he has never seen it. What is that? Wait, is this some kind of sledgehammer, Vic? Whoa, what is that? That would be like me coming on here with blue in my hand and going, oh, what is this? Who, you guys, who's this guy? What is his name? What do we call this thing? Is this a hammer? It's some kind of hammer. This can't be the blue hammer this is the silver hammer. This is the Thor hammer. Of course you know who it is. You're not going to be confused. Michael Cole's confused. He's seen it a million times. Fuck this whole segment. I'm sure all of you guys probably enjoyed it, probably way more than I did, but at the end of the day, I just need to see where we're going with this. We got a Daniel Bryan with a haircut versus Bray Wyatt without his mask on, and now this whole feud is taking a completely different turn. We'll have to see where it ends up. We had a tables match between Bobby Lashley and Rusev. Another match that I didn't give a shit about, not 1 second of. I barely even paid attention. The fact of the matter is, Bobby Lashley put Rusev through a table thanks to a minor assist from Lana, and this thing is far from over. So, I hate it. It was not worth talking much more about than that. We go to the back where they decided to show us the Street Profits to really further my point to the fact that this was just a glorified episode of Monday Night Raw, and they're talking them backstage about absolutely nothing. They want to put their 2 cents in about Lana and Rusev. And then the brawl breaks out. We got Roman Reigns fighting with Baron Corbin, then we see the New Day, Chad Gable, Buddy Murphy, Dolph Ziggler, The Revival, all of these people fighting around them. Why? Did they run out of food and catering? Are they all fighting over who's going to be Vince's lapdog at the end of the night? What are we all fighting over? Did somebody take the last Band-Aid from First Aid? Fucking stupid. This was just a way for them to extend everything that was going on with Roman and Corbin so that they could shit on the Women's Championship match winner at the end of the night. Which would follow the tables, ladders, and chairs match. Asuka, Kairi Sane defeating, thankfully, Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair in a match that just turned into a pure mess. And like we stated at the start of this broadcast, I have nothing but respect for all 4 of these women involved. Apparently the WWE does not, because they don't know how to book. They overbooked this match A match that shouldn't have been happening. A match that definitely shouldn't have been a pay-per-view main event because it put way more pressure on these girls to try to deliver and follow everything else that has just happened on this night. And while there are moments in this matchup that were impressive, there are way more moments that just have you scratching your head, making the Kabuki Warriors look like fools with the amount of times they could have walked up and won this match. The same could be said for Charlotte and Becky. At one point, you got Kairi Sane outside the ring trying to throw chairs in the ring, and she can't get the chairs to get in the ring. And Charlotte and Becky are standing there watching. Instead of one of them going to try to climb up the ladder and win the championships. And if Kairi Sane gets in the ring, Charlotte would have been there to knock her down. And you would have won the championships. This is bad planning. This is bad writing. Whoever the agent was for this is definitely demoted. I don't want anybody to lose their job, but he definitely, or she definitely shouldn't be in charge of putting matches together, especially matches of this magnitude. Because they failed these girls tremendously. They asked them to do too much. They tried to get too cute with it. With the rope. And then you have Asuka finally, mercifully finishing this 25-minute long matchup by taking the championships down. And before she even had a chance to really celebrate, they cut to the brawl in the crowd. Roman Reigns speared Baron Corbin off of something onto a pile of bodies. There was a lot about that main event that bothered me. I'm really, really worried that one of these girls, if not all of them, got really badly hurt. Kairi Sane, as we mentioned earlier, in particular, she looked like when she was put through that table with the force that Charlotte put her through, she looked fucked up. Becky Lynch came over to do a spot with her, and she was talking to her, I guess in Chinese or in her best English, and all of a sudden the whole dynamic of the match changed. Becky was like feigning to even hit her. You seen Kairi Sane talk to Asuka. It looked like something went wrong. And she definitely was not herself towards the end of that matchup. So she's the one I am the most concerned about. And that wasn't even the only spot where she could have gotten hurt. There was a lot of unnecessary risk-taking that happened here. And I know that this is wrestling and that you're going out there and you're putting your body on the line and things happen. But some of this stuff was really, really unnecessary. The show, like we said, just like the entirety of the year, in fact, maybe even the entirety of the decade, we could define each and every year as a year that is much like this show. A couple of good matches, a decent storyline to sink your teeth into with Daniel Bryan and Bray Wyatt going forward, even though to me it's kind of tainted. And the rest is absolute trash. And it was not worth a minute of your time, which is why I sat through it for you, so that I could bring it to you in a much more entertaining way. Because they will never do it right. It seems like it's just off the rails. WWE, they're just off the rails, and they're just going. They're just a train driving through a desert off the tracks. And until they hit that mountain that stumbles everything down, we're going to keep on running wild like Hulkamania did back in the freaking 80s. This show was garbage, man. This entire show, after the second match, qualifies for a big old fat poop hammer. And I don't think anything gets a poop hammer more than the Baron Corbin, Roman Reigns scenario. It doesn't matter if we're talking about tonight's match, if we're talking about anything that happened leading up to this match. The poop hammer belongs firmly in the hands of the king of the WWE and his adversary, the big dump, Roman Reigns. Get your hands on your Sledgehammer TV merchandise before you can't get it anymore. The Sledgehammer TV logo t-shirt is available in 5 separate colors. You got the black, which is representative for AEW. We got red if you're crazy enough to be a Monday Night Raw guy. We got blue if you're crazy enough to be a SmackDown guy. We got the yellow t-shirt for NXT, and of course House of Glory orange, all with that beautiful Sledgehammer TV logo plastered right in the center of it. Or you can be a brave soldier and get your own Poop Hammer t-shirt and arm yourself with the most deadliest weapon in all of wrestling reviews, the Poop Hammer, which comes down tonight on that TLC matchup. How you have a boring TLC match, I will never understand, which is why they get the Poop Hammer. So you get your Poop Hammer right now. This way you can give it to anybody that you want as well, figuratively speaking. Of course, you can get that at bonfire.com/store/sledgehammer-tv. Right now, there will be a link in the description, and hopefully I will put a comment up pinned at the top of the comment board for you to get it before it's gone. Available through the holiday season. Support the show any way you can. This would be a great way for you to support the show. Grab one of these t-shirts, but if not, we understand not everybody is flush with cash and you can't always afford a t-shirt, but maybe, when you get your Christmas money, maybe you want to buy yourself a nice little shirt and support your favorite wrestling show, and that's one of the best ways you can do so. Another way to support the show is to watch the commercials. I got to throw some more commercials in here, you guys. We got to start making money. I'm not going to be obnoxious with it, but if you could do me a favor and watch the ads as they pop up, that would be freaking fantastic. If you don't want to watch the ads, you don't want to buy a t-shirt for yourself, then all you got to do is smash that like button right now if you enjoyed anything we had to do here or say on this channel today, and then share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if they disliked TLC as much as I did. Don't forget to leave a comment and let me know what you thought of this show, and I will try to get back to you as soon as humanly possible. And those are the best ways you can support this channel so that we can continue to rise as we get ready to take on 2020 and continue our march to become one of the top channels in all of the YouTube wrestling community. And I couldn't do it without any of you guys, so you can subscribe right now if you are not already a subscriber. If you didn't already hit that subscribe button because of my awesomeness, now would be the time to do so. Don't forget to hit that notification bell as well so that you don't miss a thing that we put up on this channel. We are working on something special for the end of the year. Hopefully all goes well and I don't have any problems and I can get it up to you guys the way I want to do so. I'm not going to tell you too much more about that, but that's why you need to put that notification bell on so when it does go up, you don't miss it, as well as our Monday Night Raw reviews, AEW reviews, Friday Night SmackDown reviews every single week. Occasionally we throw NXT in there when time allows for it, but that show is often than not too good to even pinpoint some of the things that are that wrong with it. So thank you all so very much for being here with me once again today. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team, Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue, the Snowball. The most important member of the team, as always, is each and every one of you. Don't forget to check out everything else we have on the channel, which will be in the annotations up above, and be here all week long as we continue to bring the hammer down till the year ends and beyond. That, my friends, is going to do it, and we are out of here, and we will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com. Thank God this year is going to be over.